When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel.
Well, excuse me!
Looking for good ideas for life? You're far from good hands.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
If you think the listener is always right, you're far from the right place.
Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works!
Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, but a rebel by choice.
Are you threatening me?
If you want a host that floats between love and madness,
and we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite. Looking forward to a little afternoon delight.
then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Within the gaming world, there are your general gamers, but then there are those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming. If you're one of those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming, we certainly got the place to send you. Scorpion Lair Games. That's right, Scorpion Lair Games is the creators of the true crime hit Killers, the card game. Let's not forget they also have Killers Clothing Company, their profiler game, and things like the 5-Minute Murder channel on YouTube. And we certainly can't forget the new book that is certainly a hit, Beyond the Headliners, True Crimes, Myths, and Legends. Make sure you visit Jeff and the Scorpion Lair Games on Facebook and everywhere today.
Hi, I'm Leslie Hoffman, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio.
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele. And boy, do we have a good one for you today.
Before we get started, folks, we also wanted to let everybody know that is listening to this interview. It is being recorded on the D&D Fitness Apparel line. D&D Fitness Apparel is a Memphis-based comedy and clothing startup brand that is helping you reclaim the quality gym wear that you want to have on, but also does all the talking for you because you want to be comfortable while you are there to
Pump you up!
Feel free to visit them at dndfitapparel.com. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this next guest, she's a very busy bee doing stuff on a convention circuit and trying to have a presence on the social media thing. But many people know her for different projects she has done, as a stunt woman, an actress, and much more. Obviously, if you haven't been living under a rock, her face and voice is recognizable. But wasn't expected to go that way for her, as she fell in love with stunts. But you would know her as the stunt double for Queen Elizabeth in the Naked Gun movie. You also got the hall monitor with that infamous scene from the 1984 horror classic, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Where's your pass? Screw your pass.
Hey, Nancy. Nobody in the hallway.
So why don't we go ahead and welcome our next guest, Miss Leslie Hoffman. So, Miss Leslie Hoffman, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
All right, and glad we finally got to do this. Had a couple hiccups along the way, and I will take the heat for those hiccups because I'd say 95% of it was me. So I will take those bolts. That is perfectly fine. But I'm glad you're doing okay. And welcome.
Oh, glad to be here.
Right on. All right. So we're going to, folks, obviously, normally we tend to bounce around, but I'm going to go more organized with this case just for continuity's sake. And, there's a couple little details, but if she decides to tell that story, great. But it's not for me to say why I'm changing up, but I want to acknowledge I'm going to change up a little bit, folks. So,
I mean,
yeah, I just rather be, what? Hey, why does he sound more formal? There's reason behind the madness. So, before you guys give me a bunch of shit, there's a reason behind the madness. But, so, you were involved in the entertainment business for a long, long time, but you wanted to always be an entertainer. You focused on acting, but you found acting to be a little boring. So, at least the way they taught it. So, what actually happened there?
Yeah. Well, from as long as I can remember, I wanted to be an entertainer, which my mother had me taking dancing lessons like at the age of 4 or 5. And I had a gym. To my parents' surprise and the teacher's surprise, I had a gymnastic ability. Like I say, I still wanted to be an actress. Every year in school, they have you write, what you want to be when you grow up. And I would say acting. Other kids would, one year they'd be a doctor, one year, the next year they'd be a fireman. Always wanted to be an actress. But I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts one summer to take acting lessons, and it was absolutely boring. It was like, step here, say your line, step here, say your line, and it was actually depressing. I mean, it almost made me change my mind about entering the entertainment field. But my older brother had gone to Caltech in California, and my family went out to visit him. And we went to the Universal Studios tour, and within the tour was the Western Stunt Show.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched this guy come out and speak on the mic And then all of a sudden they're throwing punches and shooting guns and doing high falls, but yet they're still acting. I mean, they're still, verbalizing. There's still dialogue. And it was like the light bulb went on, and I said, that's what I want to be. I want to be a stunt woman.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into it, but it's funny that you mentioned the gymnastics and the ballet and all that stuff growing up. And many people wouldn't realize, I don't think, maybe more so now, but there's actually, that kind of stuff helps you. But before we jump professionally, I want to mention him. You are the great niece of Bernard Green, who composed and conducted music for radio and TV. So is that where the entertainment bug bit you, or was it because of, like you said, they had the interest in the acting and then you saw the stunt show, et cetera, et cetera?
Actually, it was just that I was related to him. He, I was very young when I met him. I was told what he did when, in the 50s and the 60s, but like I say, other than being related to him, he did not help me get into the business. I wouldn't say that he gave me the acting bug or anything like that either.
Okay, no, that's fair. So it's funny because I think there's more training now to specialize, but it's not like, and I know other stunt people in the business, and it's like it's not like you used to show up and go to school for stunt work. So how did you get involved with it? Because it's also good that I should say, you knew your personal limits from what I've read and seen. And, you were trained in like high falls, fights, fencing, and you had specialties, which a lot of people tend to have in a stunt world. Some deal with fires, some deal with high falls, fights, fencing, the different gigs. So how did you walk into doing stunts, but also how did you, because it's not all normal. So how did you go ahead and find where your comfort zone was?
Well, again, there's kind of a double answer here, is that real quick, real or most stunt people, good stunt people, come from a background, whether it's motorcycle riding, whether it's horse riding, gymnastics. I mean, that's a really good start. I mean, for me to have gymnastics, I already had the ability to fall without hurting myself, as you're learning to do flips and cartwheels, and you miss and you fall, you don't want to hurt yourself. So,
No.
so at a very young age, I already, let's say I could already do pratfalls or, without injury. Actually, when I moved out to California to become a stunt woman, I did ask around and discovered that there was a gym that on Saturday would be, in other words, they didn't belong to the union yet. People would show up and we would practice stunt work. And we would trade off. Someone would show me high falls. I did take fencing at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, so I would teach someone how to fence. And like I say, it was a trade-off, and we would just show up every Saturday and practice. And the other thing that was really great about this gym was a group. It wasn't necessarily a picked group, but people would get together at the end of the day and we'd put together a routine and perform it in front of the other people that were at the gym, and they would critique it. So I would say that was the training for me to become a stunt woman, or it definitely helped.
And I'm guessing with that, working out with different people at that gym and such, it would be once you got rolling into the field, some of these other people, or try this in English, some of these other people would vouch for you and say, oh, Leslie can do that kind of thing, or yeah, she's trustworthy. They will put in positive words for you because they've seen what you did at the gym and such. Am I off base with that?
Okay, I didn't quite hear you completely, but
I can repeat if I want, if you need me to.
I'll answer it as the different members of the gym were able to get into the union, and that's a vicious cycle. In order to have a job, you got to belong to the union. In order to belong to the union, you have to have a job. So how do you break that cycle? But many of the I can't call it graduates, but many of the people that went to the gym went on to have tremendous careers. I mean, well, like you say, we were prepared to do stunts. We practiced, and when we were hired, we were quite capable of doing stunts. And then when I first got into the union, or first got into being a stunt woman, there was, people used to get hired by the production manager. But at that same time period, stunt coordinators came into being, where, let's say, the stuntman is doubling the lead in the television show or movie. The unit manager would say, well, hey, I need a couple of guys and a girl and whatever. And that's sort of how the stunt coordinator got born or became a profession.
Right on. And, speaking of unions and all that stuff, Leslie has the distinct honor of being the first stunt woman to be elected to the SAG board of directors, 81 to 83. On your way out, got a certificate of appreciation from the board. But there was a gentleman, Frank Maxwell, who was a big assistance, and Howard Kane, helping create the category of stunts. So could you explain that being the creation of that?
Frank Maxwell was actually the president of AFTRA, which was the other union. Now the two unions have merged today, so now it's called SAG-AFTRA. But Frank Maxwell was the president of AFTRA, and it was AFTRA that had categories. And at that point, I was elected, but there was no category for stunts. And I talked to Frank about creating a category for stunts to make sure that we were represented. And with the help of Frank and Howard Kane and a couple other people, AFTRA did vote in the category of stunts. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, SAG decided that how do I say it? That there doesn't have to be a chairperson representing stunts now. They absorbed the stunt category into the actor category. So theoretically speaking, there could be a point that there isn't a stunt person on the board of SAG-AFTRA. I mean, there happen to be two at the moment, but like I say, theoretically, in years to come, there could be no stunt person representing the category of stunts?
Well, that brings up a good question, and we're not going to get into it. Obviously, you had your own issues with the union and such, but when you said that they had the merging that section with the actors and such, do you think that's a good or a bad thing
Bad.
to not have somebody on that seat?
SAG was movies and after was television, and now they've merged the two together, and I'm not sure how to say it. Is that something becomes so big that that things fall through the cracks? Is that a nice way to say it?
Yeah, we can leave it like that. Yeah, we can. Yeah, and she's being nice here, folks. Yeah, because it just seems like to me when I think about when you say that, it'd only be fair to have a seat at the table, if that makes sense, for the stunt folks as well, besides actors and all the breakdown that's there for the union. I'm gonna actually, thanks a lot. I'm gonna actually be making a phone call to pepper somebody else with questions on that. But so hold on, I'm gonna grab
Okay.
this little thing, and I think you might recognize this guy. In that, it's funny.
But I'll tell you something about that guy.
Okay, go ahead.
That is not Freddy from the original movie. If you were to watch the original Nightmare on Elm Street, our sleeves were solid red.
Yes.
The second movie and going forward, the sleeves became striped because they couldn't find that exact sweater that we had in the first movie. So that's how I can tell, when someone shows me a stuffed shoe or a stuffed animal or stuffed person or stuffed Freddy, like you say, I can tell that.
Yes, that is a little tidbit there with the sleeves.
Right.
No, but what I was going to say is another co-host, who's a old school horror guy. He lives out in California and actually sent this to me because I kind of, from time to time, I might go, what the blankety blank, I like, that creative type. I might, where I should bite my tongue, et cetera, et cetera. Well, about a week later, this little stuff guy from Walmart showed up on my doorstep going, I'm sorry, with a little note saying, I'm sorry. Okay, Mike. So, of course, I called him. Mike, you're good. It's okay, but that was creative to send to Freddie because he knows I'm a horror nut. So it was funny, but everything good?
Oh, wait a minute. Because I have one right here.
Oh, okay. Okay. We're doing show and tell, folks, on the camera, so it's all good. Oh, let's see. What do you got? Oh, speaking. I got you. I've seen those.
I can't.
She got her own action.
There we go.
There we go. She's got her own action figure. So it's perfect because to lead into my question for that. As the hall guard, and that scene lasts 19, 20 seconds, and you get a couple of things. You get the three iconic statements of where's your pass, screw your pass, hey Nancy, no running in the hall, with Robert dubbing your voice at the end there. Did you think
that's a funny story? I was hired. I'm a stunt woman.
Yes.
So I was hired by Tony Caesar, the stunt coordinator. I did not audition for that role. I was hired to do the fall, and it's just cheaper to give me the lines and let me do the fall. So I never had a script from the movie, which is kind of sad. I wish I did.
Yeah.
Anyways, So Wes Craven comes up to me and he says, okay, she's going to come around the corner. Nancy's going to come around the corner, run into you, knock you down. And I want you to say, where's your pass? Or at least that's the way I said it.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of go off of getting knocked down. In other words, there wasn't direction from Wes. It was just the emotional moment of being hitting the floor that I said it that way.
Yeah.
And then quickly, when I arrived at the set, as you can see, I like to wear my hair long. The hairdresser took one look at me, and that's how I ended up with the two ponytails.
Makes sense. And go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So, okay. So I did get to say, where's your pass? But then we do the second part where I'm in the hallway and Wes comes up to me and I mean, he looked like he was about to cry. It was such a interesting experience is that he's going, Leslie, I need you to say, hey, Nancy, no running in the hallway and wave your claws because the actor is going to dub his voice in, but I need your lips moving so he has something to go off of. And I've been to horror conventions and I've had people come up to me and say, that scene is so scary when you open up your mouth and Robert Englund's voice comes out. I mean, no pun intended, but it gave them nightmares.
Yeah, there's something creepy about that.
Yeah. So the other thing is that, so like I say, is Wes looks like he's about to cry, and he tells me, your voice isn't going to make it onto the screen, or at least that line isn't going to make it onto the screen. And he walks away, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm a stunt woman. What do I care whether well, that sounds a little mean. But in other words, I think he was more upset that he had to tell me my voice wasn't going to be in the movie, or that at least that line, than I was. I mean, I was happy to be working that day.
Exactly. And I know this will sound selfish, but in my head it'd be like, hey, I hope I get a double payday because I would consider it acting, but also you were hired as a stunt woman. So it's like, well, I hope I get a double payday out of this,
That's where SAG falls down on the job.
Yeah.
Also, this was an extremely low budget film. I mean, like I say, that's why it was cheaper to hire me and let me do the lines.
Yep.
Hire an actress and then have me stunt double her.
Exactly. And it's funny, and this isn't in the notes, but I'd be curious to know perspective since we're on Nightmare. And you mentioned Tony Caesar, and I know his daughters, lovely young ladies, the twins, who do the jump rope scene, and
Right.
lovely ladies. At least in my experience with them, they always been sweet, etc. But Tony is credited for the longest fire stunt, I believe, of the year, and for the longest on film, which many people don't realize. He was back to back the original Ghostbusters, then that fire scene coming out of the basement, which is
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, it was back to back project, two pretty big projects. Hindsight here, but obviously the long credited stunt was come around the basement and up the stairs and back down when he gets knocked over and stuff.
Right. He also did, well, I think both of them did the scene where Freddy is walking down the alleyway and, he has the extra long arms.
The fishing poles and stuff like that, yeah.
Some of that is also Tony.
wouldn't surprise me, you know. And I'll have to ask Amanda about that. Yeah, I'm gonna text her after that. Another note to remember. I'll put that down because she would know since she was in that scene. But the original question I was going to ask with the hall scene, but we got sideways there, is sorry. Yeah, it happens. See, folks, a little back to normal, but I'm trying to keep in order. But my question was, and it's cool you brought up the action figure you got there, hall pass, your name, and everything on there, which is kind of cool that it's sealed. But did you ever think, and we were kidding about the low budget and all that stuff, but did you ever think that that short little segment there, that at the max 30 seconds, you'd be going to conventions, getting the action figure like that, yeah, just all these years later?
I had no idea. Again, you got to go back to the day we filmed it. I mean, who knew that what is it, 40 plus years later,
Yeah, 41.
such a cult favorite, or I mean, it has such a following. No, I had no idea that this one day on this low budget horror film would last to 2025 and probably way beyond. And just real quick, Robert Englund is going to get his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yes, Halloween, I believe he told me.
Oh, okay. I've
Yeah,
been looking at the internet to see if there was a date set.
I believe Robert said it was. I ran into him in Carolina a couple months ago, and I said, yeah, we're happened to be sitting at the bar during lunch. There was like 4 or 5 of us, no, including Robert. And it was like, oh, but just talking old school movies and different that because he's a historian that way. And I said, oh, before he left, oh, by the way, congratulations on the star because it had been announced. He goes, oh yeah, Halloween. That's going to be so much fun. So yeah, congratulations to Robert on that.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, the way he said it looked like it was going to be Halloween they were doing that or around that time period. So
Well, the interesting thing is that, um, well, how do I fans don't really understand completely how films are made. And actually, the day that I worked on Nightmare, Robert was in New York City. I mean, he wasn't on the set. And people have asked me, did I work with Johnny Depp? Well, he wasn't in that scene.
yeah,
So no, and we did have a screening of the movie, but I couldn't even tell you if Johnny came to the screening of the movie. I couldn't
yeah,
tell you if Robert was at the screening of the movie. I
exactly.
mean, I met Robert years later at horror conventions. I've met him a couple times
Yeah,
at like you say, at horror conventions.
yeah. He can talk, that's for sure. And the stories upon. Yeah, I'll tell you about it when we're done and not with the little red button. I got a funny story about the Carolina show, but yeah, I'll leave that till we're done. But it's funny when I'm looking through everything. You've done a couple franchises, and the other one is it stands out film wise is doubling Queen Elizabeth in Naked Gun. And
I,
go
well,
ahead, sorry.
I'll try to do all of the stories real quick here.
Okay.
At I worked with Ricardo Montalban on Fantasy Island before I did Naked Gun. And I walk on the set and Ricardo says, "Hello, Leslie." I mean, this is a guy that was a movie star in the 50s and like I say, Fantasy Island. And he remembered my name, it
How
was
did he know you? Did he ever say how he knew you, or did you work with him before?
well, like you say, I worked several episodes of Fantasy Island, so we
Okay.
knew each other from Fantasy Island. But that he would remember my name or my face and say hello, Leslie. I mean, I have a rule that I do not talk. I do not go up to actors and talk to them. If they talk to me, then I definitely will have a conversation with them. But you don't know, they could be in a mood, they could be studying their script, memorizing their line. So I do not talk to actors. And the other thing is I consider that we're employees of that day or whatever. So I don't want to say, "Oh, I thought you were so wonderful in such and such." We're both working that day, and that's the way it should be treated. Um, okay, so then the other thing was Leslie Nielsen. I never worked with him before, but we both spell our name Leslie. And most of the day they're going Leslie to the set, and they're talking about Leslie Nielsen. Well, they finally get up to my stunt and they say Leslie to the set. And Leslie Nielsen comes over to the table that I'm sitting at and he goes, "Leslie, that's a nice sounding name." I wish I had a snappy comeback for what he said, but all I could do was, "I think so, Leslie." So that's my story about Leslie Nielsen. Very nice guy. I mean, he's gone. Well, they're both gone now.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so the stunt was filmed in two parts. The stuntman hit a mini tramp and I guess you call it bulldogged me to the table, ran. We filmed that about 7 times because he'd hit me up here, he hit me down here, over to the side, over this side. 7 times. Nobody said anything. They finally got the shot. Now we come to the actual slide down the banquet table, and they have a little tray underneath the tablecloth attached to a wire, and the crew is at the other end of the banquet table and on action. Well, I'm already laying on the tray. The stuntman is already laying on top. Right, exactly.
Pulley system, kind of.
Take us down the table, and we filmed it one time, and we get to the end of the table, and all of a sudden, everybody in the room is going, "Yay!" I mean, nothing for the 7 times that I got hit by the stuntman, but drag me down a table, and the room is cheering.
Oh, jeez.
Again, it's a memorable scene. Is that if someone may not know that I was a stunt woman, and I'll say, "Do you like horror? Do you like comedy?" And depending on what their answer is, I'll say Nightmare on Elm Street, or I'll say Naked Gun. I was Queen Elizabeth with the legs up in the air, and I mean, definitely we can come up with a show that they've seen and they just never realized that I was in that episode or I was on that show.
And it's funny. I share a couple of cocktails time or two, and I'm sure you know him, Kane Hodder, and he would always talk about, because he got into the business as a stunt guy, right? And
he actually was at the gym the same time that I was at the gym. Towards the end that I was at the gym,
okay.
Kane came into the gym.
Okay. Well,
Kane before he had the burns.
Okay. Yeah, Kane always says that when I got into the business, I wasn't thinking of being the guy in lights per se. I was a stunt guy. So it's like fast forward to where he's Jason Voorhees and everything. Everything happens. He didn't see that on his bingo card, as you would say, to where he's at now, if that makes sense. So I'm guessing you felt the same way, that you never expected people to recognize you for certain things.
Right, exactly. Is that the day you work, you don't think about 40, 50 years from now. Now I'm 40, 50 years out from the day I worked, and it's like you remember that I was in this movie or I did this stunt? I mean,
Yeah.
I get really impressed is that I had a fan come up to me and say, you were in the car, the movie The Car.
Hmm.
And it's like, you remember the movie The Car?
Yeah, it's I always say, and I think most would agree with this statement, is horror fans especially are probably, and they watch other stuff. It's not, yes, you get the ones who just strictly watch horror, that's it, etc. Excuse me. But most of them are pretty well, horror is their home base, I would say, but they're very eclectic and watch other things as well. But they're probably some of the smartest fans you'll talk to. So that makes sense when they'll say, "Hey, I remember you in here." It is, you know what I mean? What you just said there. Yeah, it makes total sense.
Oh yeah, no, it's interesting. I've had people who maybe probably have never been to conventions, and I found the horror convention fans the nicest. I mean, they're always sweet. There's no fighting at it, because it's a horror convention. There's no fighting or killing or
Yeah,
I'm silly now. No, they're really wonderful.
yeah. Well, and I guess that leads to the last little bit I got, and that being the Star Trek, both Deep Space Nine and Voyager. Do you notice a lot of crossover since you bring up conventions with the horror fan and the sci-fi fan?
Mm, I would say horror fans tend to like horror and Star Trek fans tend to like Star Trek. But like I say, even the Star Trek fans, they're just really wonderful. I think the funniest thing, and maybe this is true about horror also, is Star Trek fans will say, like if there's a Q&A, they might ask an actor, well, what was this character feeling when he did this thing happen in this episode? It's like, I read the script. I don't know what a lot of a lot of actors don't necessarily know every single episode they were in or every single scene that they were in. They
Yeah.
said a line.
Yeah.
They acted.
Yeah, I went with what was on the script, and you know what I mean. Where there's others, and I'll use Robert for example because he's the one who told me this. Was that you like if you're a repetitive character like a Freddy Krueger or whatever, that there comes a point that the actor will know the character better than other people, even sometimes the writer.
Right.
So so you get both sides of that. But you know, uh, for those who aren't familiar, Roxanne Dawson was the one you were a regular stunt double for and performer. So
Oh,
did you get to know Roxanne much?
I'm sorry.
Did you get to know Roxanne Dawson much?
Uh, Not as well as other. I mean, we knew each other, but actually, on Remington Steele, um, very friendly with Doris Roberts. There was one episode that Rosemarie was in. And like I say, I do not talk to the actor first. And this episode that I stunt doubled Rosemarie, she obviously saw me dressed up as her. And she sits down next to me and she starts showing me pictures of her grandchildren.
Hmm.
It just made the day really lovely.
Nice. And you corrected me on this, so I'd be curious to know the story. And there was a convention in New York City in a trivia contest, and the signed prize was from Richard Arnold. So what was that story?
Well, again, I live in upstate or northern New York, town of 5,000. I mean, I love Star Trek. I'm a Trekkie. Um, I took a bus down to New York City. It was the second convention of Star Trek. And I entered the trivia contest and actually came in third. And I mean, there were thousands of people uh, entering this contest. And I think coming in third, little girl from town of 5,000, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I would. You did very well here. Well, you we've hinted at it a couple times with conventions. Do you have a lot planned that you know of right now?
Do I have?
Convention appearances set up.
Oh, supposedly July 12th or whatever weekend is right around there. Supposedly I'm supposed to go to San Antonio. I have a convention in Tennessee. Um, and I'm missing another convention. There's another convention. I can't think of where it is. It's like I kind of take them in a straight line. In other words,
Oh, I get that.
at a date as opposed to trying to memorize all the conventions that I'm looking at or heading towards. I mean, I'm hoping a year ago I actually went to Northern Ireland. So due to Nightmare on Elm Street, I got to go to Europe.
There you go. Well, I'm sure folks can see up-to-date information on the Instagram or lesliehoffman.com, which I'll have links to. Oh, and by the way, can people get those figures that you showed as well through the website?
Well, the website is lowercase Leslie, Leslie, hyphen lowercase Hoffman, HOFFMAN.com. And the beginning of the website, I talk about different shows I was in, and then you're able to click a button and you're able to go shopping, autograph pictures, and I'm willing to write whatever you want me to write on the picture. Just something else real quick is that so
Please.
when I go to horror conventions or sci-fi conventions, Star Trek conventions, I always do selfies for free. I mean, I know that there are actors that will charge for a selfie.
Mm-hmm.
I do selfies for free. We do photo ops, and I have a reproduction of the sweater and the claws. So when we do photo ops, I'll dress up as the hall guard.
Fun.
Not older, but the oldest of hall guard, but
you're still in the same role. So
right.
yeah.
Yeah, it was really funny. We were Robert and I were at the same convention, and he didn't have his glove, and they had not so great version of the glove, and they're trying to put it on his hand, and it just it's like OJ Simpson. If the glove don't fit,
Oh, jeez.
they can't get this glove on his hand. But I had my glove, which is made by the same person.
Anders, right?
And actually Robert, for his photo ops, used my glove to do the pictures. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I know the gentleman who does the gloves. I actually got one myself in the collectible room.
Yeah, Anders.
Yeah, him and his wife are lovely people. So, and that's the official. His model is actually the official one for that Warner Brothers uses too, for any type of production. So, another little trivia moment there for you. But Leslie, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me on your show.
I'm glad we finally got to do it.
Yeah. We had a few false starts, but we got
But
it.
no, like I said, I will take those bullets. You know, most of those false starts were me and all that fun stuff. So it is what it is. We got her done.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. I wonder if these heavy eyes.
Hey folks, looking for the ultimate destination for the nerd enthusiasts and collectors? Well, we found the spot for you. Nerds Nest Collectibles is a haven for nerds, geeks, and fans alike, as they have many different products and certainly more to come. Make sure you go ahead and visit them at nerdsnestcollectibles.com. Check them out.
Hi, this is Amanda Wist, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio.